Thank you so much for being back and our second part of the Mobility Day. I would ask you everybody for a minute to really go mute, please, even our speakers, to avoid to have background noise. Otherwise, our moderator will do that. Okay, thank you so much. So yeah, warm welcome. This is the second part of our session. I'm not saying afternoon session because I know there's a lot of people dialing in from other sides of the globe. Okay, so it's not just a European time zone event here. We had a really exciting time in the last hours, and I was pretty much thrilled, really, for the discussions I was able to have during what we call now lunch break or whatever, session break. And thanks for coming now back in. It's also good to have these 2-3 more minutes to allow everybody to join back in. And we have really a full program of super exciting cities and users of MaaS technology and MaaS projects here. And I know we will start straight away to go into Malaga. If you like, you can just announce who's leading us this afternoon through the afternoon, and then I would jump straight away in our first sessions. Thank you very much, and you have all a very good time over the next.
Okay, so this is Francesco Mureddu, and I will be moderating the afternoon section. So the section is basically split into 2 parts. There will be 3 keynote speeches, which I will of course introduce, and then a period, small period of questions and answers, Q&A, from 3:25 to 3:40 CET. Then there will be a second section, which I will also introduce. I'd like to collect the questions during the presentation through the chat of the system, so that I will read the questions to the speakers after the first set of presentations, and then after the second set of presentations. I will now share a very short presentation just to let you know who I am and what is the institution that I represent. The institution I represent is the Lisbon Council. The Lisbon Council it's a think tank based in Brussels that was established 15 years ago to support the Lisbon agenda. My name is Francesco Mureddu. I'm from Sardinia, Italy, but I've been living around in Europe for kind of 15 years now. And my background is in economics, but I work mostly in Horizon 2020 projects related to technology, also related to mobility and to digital transformation of public services. The Lisbon Council, so as I said, it's been established to support the Lisbon agenda for jobs and growth, and it has a very rich program of research program in e-government, future science, digital transformation of public administration, ICT, innovation, and startups. We also host a very interesting set of high-level summits and roundtables with commissioners and with members of the governments in the member states. It's very interesting to notice that we are working in very relevant projects at the moment, and we are very strict partner of engineering, who is very close to FIWARE. So at the moment we are in projects like IDO, Evidence and Cloud for More Informed and Effective Policies, ETAPAS, Ethical Technology Adoption in Public Administration Service Analytics, across towards user journey for the delivery of cross-border services, ensuring data sovereignty, and also some other projects. All those projects are Horizon 2020, and they are focused on the use of artificial intelligence and other disruptive technologies in improving policymaking, in improving public services in general. We also know very well FIWARE. In fact, for instance, the generic enabler HYDRA. So the web application will be used in the Saido. The Lisbon Council is a partner. Also, FIWARE manages the context broker for an hybrid European data portal and the member states to collect and use real-time data. And we are also working in the European data portal, which that is joining the European Open Data Portal. We are also working that with Capgemini. And finally, FIWARE is a partner in 2 proposals that we submitted, and we hope they will be approved. One is CHEF, Satellite Open Data for Smart City Services Development, and the other one is more related to mobility. It's a Green Deal proposal, citizen-led sustainable transport solutions and behavioral change for carbon footprint mitigation. So in case our proposals will be approved, then we're going to collaborate with FIWARE for the years to come. Let's go now to our section. So the first keynote speech is by Francis Pérez Sanjuá, expert at the Centro Municipal de Informática del Ayuntamiento de Málaga, in CEMI, and David Bueno, professor at the University of Malaga and CEMI City of Malaga. They will talk about smart mobility for citizens and tourists in Malaga, a very beautiful city in Andalusia, Spain. So Francis and David, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon. So we're really proud to be in this event with our friends of FIWARE. And I think that we can begin our presentation that we hope that you like. Okay, so to begin, imagine that every day when you begin your day and you want to work, for example, or if you are a student, you want to go to your university, you would like to have something to planify your journey. For example, watching the cameras that are on the way of your work. If you go to work by car, having the idea of which are the free parking places in the public parking, or if you go by bus, knowing exactly when the bus arrives to the station that is close to your house. Or if you go with shared bicycle, for example, to know how many shared bicycles are close to your house and in your destination. If you think that this could be interesting, this is what we have developed for the city of Malaga. The origin of this idea was prepared for the hackathon of FIWARE that we have the good luck to win. Sorry, in 19. And what we offered there was a way to try to exploit the open data that we have in Malaga, more than 900 open data sets with more than 80 layers of our geoportal and with many information in other webs and social networks. And the thing is that the information that we had in the city was very valuable, but the citizens don't use them because they don't know how to use it. So our proposal was to create a personal dashboard where each citizen could have the components and to make it in a personalized way, the components that could be interesting for them. And also with the possibility that it will be available in different devices. So the importance of this is that FIWARE is everything is powered by FIWARE because it enriches the open data, adding historic information and alerts that are used to convert instance data in useful information that can help to the user to take decision. So we have prepared a little video of 3 minutes that I hope you like and that you can hear correctly. So let's see. It sounds? Okay, so now my colleague,
Welcome back to Ask
sorry, my colleague Francis will talk a little more about the technical aspects.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for attending. The lecture is divided into parts: the backend based on FIWARE software, and the Angular and the frontend, based on Angular software. The frontend is I cannot go. The backend has a Docker component, Malaga and GSI, that obtain information of different sources and push the data with different update frequencies to Orion context broker. Cygnus subscribe changes in Orion to obtain the updated data like parking occupation, beach information, or bike parking availability. Cygnus use a second MongoDB different from the Orion one. STH comment has access to the MongoDB where Cygnus update the historic data. The frontend create Orion with get entities and STH comment to use the historic information. And then in the frontend, it's an Angular application that implements a component for each element that will be represented in the dashboard. It access to FIWARE data and also the other service like cameras or georeferenced data ones. Each Angular component has this structure that will be published in the future to permit external developers to create components for the personal dashboard. So we felt this is a possibility to increase the components available in other cities or in other countries with the same data, because we have used the NGSI format for the data we are publishing. Sorry, David, you continue with the platform.
Okay, so the things that you can use our system from your telephone, from a laptop, or from a tablet. No? So I don't want to bore you a lot. So here we give some link information with because it's something that you can try in mypanel.malaga.eu. All the information is here in the first link, info mypanel.eu, and here you have the video that we have just shown. So only to remember our friends Agustin Pereña, that is not here with us, but is the core of the front end of all the work, and we are who developed the application. So I hope that you like, and thank you again for having us here.
Thank you very much, Francis and David. It's quite quicker than expected. So we go to the second speaker, so that we will have our Q&A at the end of all the speeches. And the second speaker, Tatiana Negurita, who is the strategic advisor at Department of European Policies of the Metropolitan City of Milan. And she's going to talk about big challenges in the mobility sector in the Metropolitan City of Milan. Thank you for being here, Tatiana, and it's good to see you. And the floor is yours.
Good afternoon to all of you, to all the participants. So I'm going to share my screen and to start my presentation. Okay, sorry. Could you confirm me that you can see it?
Yeah, we confirm.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, but I have some problem with the connection, so I'm not sure that everything is okay. So I'm going to speak about the big challenges in the mobility sector in the Metropolitan City of Milan. I would like to start by presenting. Let's present who is the Metropolitan City of Milan. It aims at expressing the best of the government culture and the administrative experience in the municipality in all the municipality of its territory in an integrated and polycentric framework that respects their identity and enhances their participation. An area that is committed to winning the challenge of environmental sustainability and in an innovative and effective way, attentive to the democratic participation and to the social and cultural quality of citizens' life and plural communities that characterize it. Let's take a look to the main characteristic of the Metropolitan City of Milan. It has a total surface of 1,075 square kilometers. It is composed of 133 municipalities divided in 7 homogeneous areas. So, regarding the numbers of inhabitants, the Metropolitan City of Milan has more or less 3,275,000 of inhabitants, of whose 1,330,000 live in Milan. So it is considered the third most populous European area. In order to promote the sustainable means, Metropolitan City of Milan has been taking in consideration 5 of the most important environment components, which are air and climate changes, landscape and the urban environment, soil use, noise, and energy. It's also important to consider which are the available public transport on the metropolitan area. So the Milan is surrounded by a beltway system that allows to reach the nearby cities around Milan. So it has more than 1,100 kilometers of roads. Regarding the railway, Metropolitan City of Milan is responsible for 280 kilometers for a total of 68 stops, of which 23 are in the municipality of Milan. However, the rail network is not sufficient to satisfy the population demand, and the private companies offer a poor quality of the system of the service. Regarding the underground, it is managed by the municipality of Milan, and we have 4 underground lines for a total of 95 kilometers. And 130 stops, of which 23 are under construction. Regarding another public transport is the tram, but it's limited to the Milan city, and we have 18 lines for a total of 120 kilometers. Regarding the possibility to visit the Milan city or to reach a destination in Milan is possible to by bike. It's possible to use the station-based or floating services, but also the car sharing that is provided by 6 operators for a total of 3,400 vehicles. And also the number of the users is relevant because it's more than 1 million of users per year. Considering also, it's also possible to use the scooter sharing, and it is offered by 5 operators for a total of 2,000 of vehicles. Most of them are electronic, and also the number of the users is very high. And finally, the bike sharing is offered by the 2 operators. Regarding the last point, the cycle lane, it is underdeveloped because we have in Milan we have only 9 local lines. After the illustration of all the public transport, it's relevant to shed some lights on the on the daily user transport and the number of the people traveling every day. On the traveling every day using the public transport. So 84 starting by the general data, 84% of users travel outside the Milan, the metropolitan city of Milan. The people needs more than one hour per day to reach the destination, such as workplaces, and the main mean of transport is the private car. Only 21% of users use the public transport. Regarding the railway network, the numbers are very high because every day we have 6,000 of passengers who use the train per day. And regarding also the ATM means, we have also here relevant numbers because a lot of people is using the ATM means. In particular, we have the underground is taken by 1.2 million people per day, and also the tram and the buses are taken by 3,010 million per year. Regarding, so it's relevant that the region Lombardy in region Lombardy it's not only relevant the movement of people, but it's also for the good transfer, mainly on the road as mean of transport. After having illustrated all the numbers of the public transport, it's also necessary to understand which are the main important objectives of the Metropolitan City of Milan. And so it regards these 10 objectives. Metropolitan City of Milan aims at developing the rail transport, the large-scale public transport, the road transport, the traffic and the safety and the road safety, the cycling, the sharing mobility, and the electronic and alternative fuels, the intermodal modes, the mobility management, the tools, the good transport, and finally the compatibility with the territorial systems. Let's analyze all the action that aims at developing all these objectives. So the first one, in order to develop the rail transport, it's essential to the development and the strengthening and the requalification of the suburban and regional railway system with regard to both infrastructural and technological aspects, also considering the points of contact with the coast territories. The second action regards the improvement of technological updating of the network to increase the efficiency and the quality of the offer. And regarding the last action is concerns the forms of awareness raising to guide citizens towards the use of the more sustainable means of transport. For the second purpose, regarding the large-scale public transport, it's fundamental to carry out intervention to extend the network, also to serve areas that are not adequately served by the public transport. It's necessary to improve the infrastructural and technological performance of the network and the existing public transports in order to increase the supply capacity, to operating speed and reliability of timetables, safety, quality, and user satisfaction. The last action regarding the need to guarantee a good connection between the different public transport systems, with particular attention to the accessibility for the weaker and disabled users. The third action refers to the road transport needs to implement bus services in areas without public transport, to improve the intermodal interchanges, to create more reserved lanes for public transport, to requalify public transport stops that make them safe, comfortable, and easily recognizable. It also essential to create systems of cycle paths for the access to stops by users, including the most vulnerable categories. And the last action is improve the real-time communication on public transport programming. The fourth action could be related to the traffic and road safety, can be reached by securing infrastructure, improving road and maintenance, to carry out requalification measures on the network throughout the metropolitan area, regulating and limiting the flow in certain zone in order to, with appropriate check system and information to users, encouraging them to encourage safer and more sustainable use of the road network. And last but not least is necessary to raise the awareness, informing and involving citizens on road safety and promote sustainable means. After the pandemic, after the spread of the pandemic caused by COVID-19, the interest on the cycling has been renewed and strengthened both by users and the public administration, who see it as an alternative use to the use of the private cars. Also, for the effects in terms of improvement for air quality and overall of the livability of the cities. That is why the cycling is considered one of the most important objectives in the metropolitan city of Milan, and it confirms the centrality of this issue, putting in place as priority action the preparation of the bike plan called the urban plan for cycling mobility, which will promote targeted intervention, including infrastructure type, functional to the promotion of the safe use of the bicycle as a mean transport, both for the needs of work and daily life and for tourism and recreation. Linked to the cycling, we have the sharing mobility and the electric alternative tools, like, for example, the carpooling, the bike, the scooter, the car sharing, the shared electronic micro-mobility system that could be reached by raising awareness, informing and involving metropolitan stakeholders in the diffusion, facilitation and promotion of sharing mobility services throughout the metropolitan area, decreasing single trips by private car, which possible positive effects in terms of lower atmospheric and noise emissions. And it's also important to increase the diffusion of vehicles provided by electricity, alternative fuels to those of fossil origin, with less polluting impact, also in terms of climate changing gas emissions. For the intermodal nodes, it's crucial to integrate the different modal system so they can become hubs where the interchange is safe, is fast, and convenient to all the social categories, including always the weakest, and also to promote integration between the different modes of transport at station and stops of public transport, rail and large-scale public transport. Regarding the COVID-19 has underlined the need to reorganize the city times, schedules and times to facilitate conditions so that the demand for mobility is distributed over several hours during the day, to achieve a consequent decrease in peak demand and congestion, to promote the use of soft, shared and collaborative forms of mobility, and to facilitate the development of the working from home. The second last regards the good of the good transport. So it's very important to improve the movement of the goods in the territory of the metropolitan city of Milan, with a particular focus on the efficiency of the logistics services, and to progressively shift goods transport from road to rail. And the last objective, the last purpose is regarding the 133 municipalities of metropolitan area that are called open to implement all the measures which the Metropolitan City of Milan adopt in order to create a coherence between settlements, infrastructure, accessibility, and the landscape context. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. very nice presentation, very interesting. We move now to Gernot Böge, a software architecture of FIWARE Foundation, who is going to talk about smart MaaS, partner integration patterns, and common standards. Gernot, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I think you can hear me, and I share my screen. I'm going to talk about the project Smart MaaS. We are going to end the project right now. We are coming into the final phase of documentation and handover. We have heard parts of it from, for example, the Kiel project in the morning. That is part of our use cases. But I will focus a little bit more into the technical side, the integration patterns and common standards, and how to deal with that. And so my name is Gernot Böge, FIWARE Solution Architect. The senior is not on my name card so far, so maybe I have to do some negotiations. And I'm working as a FIWARE Solution Architect in FIWARE. I am in the ecosystem of FIWARE since 2015, in the early phase of phase 3 of the FIWARE PPP. As one of the more than 1,000 startups dealing with FIWARE. And I came to the FIWARE Foundation to work on the Smart MaaS project. And the MaaS project is, and this is always important, powered by the technology program Smart Service World 2, by the Ministry of Economy and Energy. And this is interesting because normally you would expect that mobility, Smart MaaS, Smart Mobility as a Service, would belong to the Ministry of Traffic, but this has been by intentionally avoided, because here we come to the title that the main goal of the project is to develop a standards-based, open, modular, and easy to extend platform, but not only for mobility service, because mobility services, there are apps outside, there are popular apps outside, like, for example, from the Deutsche Bahn or from Yelp in Berlin. And so the market for mobility only is growing, and we have heard a lot about it. It's the combination with cities, so that it's not only the mobility, but the mobility in conjunction with a city, and the city as a place where people live, and the numbers of people who live in cities is growing. So it is not only mobility, but mixed up with all other issues that appear in cities and that are interesting in cities. And the focus was on standards-based, of course, FIWARE. We heard a lot of it, open source. All what we do is available on, for example, GitHub and Stack Overflow or read the docs. But the importance here is to be modular. Modular itself is for FIWARE with our generic enabler, an issue that we follow. But modular in the sense of mobility services is the idea that our platform shall provide access to services that you want. So it's not buying a software, it's not buying a platform, it's accessing services. So if you are a smart, small city and you want to have your own ride-sharing solution, you should be able to subscribe to a ride-sharing service. If you are a big city like Berlin, with 3.5 million people, you have your own app, but maybe you are interested in adding another service provider or mobility service that you don't have, and then you can add it into your existing service or mobile app. So it's not buying a software or buying an application, but offering mobility service as modules that can be integrated into a standalone app or into an already existing app. So it's also the philosophy of FIWARE, that it's not about exchanging or replacing something, but enriching something. It should be easy to extend. We here in Berlin, we have feels like there is every day a new scooter service, so it should be extended with new services that are coming our way next day, or maybe there will be a way of transport, and it should be easy to be extended, not limited to the initial services, and the focus not only for mobility service, but with a focus of cities. And this now is a reference back to Stefano. It's the smart mobility in smart cities. And this is special because in the cities, there is so much of data. Stefano mentioned it. It's about traffic. It's about transport. It's about parcel delivery, queue supermarkets. So this is really, really cross-domain. It's not only mobility. It's about smart city data. It's about energy consumption, farming. Where is your food delivery, smart industry that is happening in the city? So it's really multi-domain, and as Stefan already mentioned, we want to be a bridge, not breaking up, but opening up silos, and to enable cross-domain applications that not only use smart mobility data, but if you want to have an application that is also using weather information or parcel delivery information, it should be available to handle it all in one, and bridging the silos and not breaking the silos. So all these different domains are semantically interwoven. So this is also a second purpose of the project, that we deal with the new NGSI linked data standard. So it's linked data, it's semantic web philosophy behind it, that you have data that is interconnected, interwoven, and that you know what you talk about, because it is defining entities with URIs. So that you say that you refer to the same objects because we refer to the same URI. And if you have the same URI, you know, even across systems, that you are referencing to the same entity or object in the real world. And this the faster the data is, the more valuable it's today. So it's also the need for right-time data, or Stefano already mentioned also this expression. It's not necessarily always now. Sometimes it's helpful enough that the data point, the thermometer, is 5 minutes old. But in the end, it's a digital representation of the life and the world that is happening around you in cities. And we are describing this with context information and with context information management tool, and with the context broker in the center of it. So to make this a little bit more tangible within the project, we have also created something to explain what we do. So first of all, on the left side, you see just as an image here, our a picture of our demonstration. So a demonstrator, it's built from Lego bricks, and it's a Lego installation that is comprised of 12 different modules that are representing 12 different cases that appear in a city. It's energy, it's industry, it's agriculture, it's citizen engagement, it's mobility, it's infrastructure. So it's so many different things that you can finger point on, and you can easily describe to people and prospects coming around your booth. And it makes it really enjoyable and easy to explain what you mean with digital cities, with smart cities. And often this is an abstract concept, but if you have something like this, the people smile, they like it, they approach themselves, and it's very easy to get into a conversation with them to describe what a smart city is and how FIWARE can help making life in a smart city easier. And we have also, and this is very enjoyable, we have created a stop motion film from our Lego related to our smart MaaS topics. This is on YouTube. This is available. It's called Smart MaaS, Life in a Smart City. I can always recommend having a look into this. It's really enjoyable. It's lovable. It's with these little Lego figures that are moving around. It's 3 minutes long, and it's telling the stories what we have done. Nice thing to do. So when we talk about data integration, partner integration, what we have today, and we heard it yesterday, for example, from Regio IT, from our partners in Smart MaaS, when you come to a city, you meet local or even countrywide providers. So, but most of them have their proprietary interfaces in the mobility market. So if you are creating an app as a MaaS provider, you have to connect to multiple service providers, mobility providers, or logistics providers, and it's mostly a one-to-one connection. And if you are the next one, you also have to do it. So it's almost one-to-one connections to proprietary interfaces. And at the beginning of our project, we have done, or the Fraunhofer Institute has started a workshop with mobility experts, and the lack of common interfaces was mentioned as one of the core problems in the mobility market to make it easier. So what we find, we have heterogeneous technology issues. So we have different data formats. You have heard about JSON, XML, NGSI has data formats, data models, but currently most of the APIs have done by developers themselves. They are legacy systems very often. If you come to the VDV, it's XML. Many other systems are JSON. So you have many different data formats. And if you approach a new provider, you have to care with new data, handle new data formats. You have different data protocols. Sometimes you receive files. Sometimes you have RESTful APIs, or you have WebSockets. So it's many different ways to approach and to access data. You have many different interfaces. You have many different master data. So if you do not agree on common data models and on linked data principles, you may encounter the same bus station in 3 different apps or applications with 3 completely different names. So you name the same item differently, and you're often not able to bring the meaning together, or it is really effort prone. You have different update intervals. So sometimes you have the data that is coming in once a day, once a year, or regularly, or in right time. So it's all differently, and you have to approach the data differently, and you have to integrate differently. And often reactivity that you get notified something happens does not happen. If you just have a REST API, you have to pull data, and if you don't pull, you don't learn about something happening. And so reactivity that the system tells you, here is something new, I want to tell you about it, does not happen. And this is different from provider to provider, however they do the app. So this ends up in costly proprietary one-to-one integrations. And if you come to a new city, you start from a new. We had it in the presentation from FIWARE. So it takes time. It's a costly and time-consuming process. So there were efforts in the European Union to standardize, to create standards that help exchanging data. Since 2020, it's mandatory for European states that they have a national access point to provide public transport data in so-called national access points. But even in the EU, they have under their umbrella, I think it's different standards for 6 different meanings. And you can find information about it. This is great. This is a great step forward, but this is only mobility. And this is important and great, but it's complex and not fully sufficient. So if you follow integrations for scooters, this might be not integrated. And the way of data representation is extreme complex. So it had to describe the last construction issues of a station in Berlin, but it has to carry these structures. So there is no simple approach. And so it is really, for lean applications, it's hard to deal with these standards. They are important, they are a step in the right direction, but they don't fulfill everything. So that's point. And this is the idea where Smart MaaS is stepping in. And Smart MaaS is about with context standardization. So what we try to realize is that the MaaS provider has to integrate to the Smart MaaS marketplace and to the Smart MaaS delivery engine. And there lives a context broker. A context broker speaks our interface language, NGSI, or NGSI-LD, in our case, NGSI-LD. So he has to only talk one interface with one data protocol and with one data representation. And the same for the transportation providers. So what does it mean? For the MaaS provider, it's only one interface, either version 2 or LD, more or less the same. It's just an development, an evolution into the future. if you have, because we use shared data models and we have the Smart Data Model Initiative, like for example in Berlin, there are multiple scooter services and multiple bike sharing services. So you have to learn the NGSI dialect for talking to bicycle sharing services. And then you can speak with one approach to multiple providers because they all share the same interface and the same data models. And you have right-time data out of the box because this is one of the core capabilities of the context broker. So you can be notified if something happens. So you don't have to continuously pull your data, but you can say, I want a subscription, inform me if this condition is taking place, please give me notifications that something happens. And you have the choice that you say, okay, I can poll. That's if you want to do this, you can do it, but you can also be notified with asynchronous calls if something is happening. And of course, non-mobility data, as mentioned in the first slide, is easy to be mixed in because one of our core domains is a smart city domain. And yes, we are proven since years a worthy player in that game. And so it's easy to mix up cross-domain data also into mobility data. And of course, the whole ecosystem of FIWARE smart application development, the FIWARE generic enabler are harmonized with each other, and it's easy and fast to develop smart applications. That is, of course, in the backsec, ready to go available. For the service provider, it means that you only have to integrate one time into the smart MaaS marketplace. And you don't have to do the integration with every partner or with every provider that you might face in the north side of the application, but it's only one-time integration. And it offers new cross-domain market opportunities that you not only play with mobility applications, cross-domain applications. This might open totally new market opportunities. And in our marketplace, we have also the way of integrating common terms and conditions that you do not have to negotiate. Of course you can, but you do not have to negotiate terms and conditions with every partner you want to do integration. For that, we have created our open source smart MaaS architecture. And if you are familiar with FIWARE architecture, this looks a little bit similar. In the middle, it's not so easy to read. We have the context broker. This is our core component. We have our security chapter that is managing the access to data and the authorization. We have our IoT agent I mentioned before. They are available for integrating data from sensors and cameras. That is pretty well known in FIWARE. And we have the big orange bubble here. We have created an integration framework that is not only available for mobility, but this is more versatile and more powerful than the pure IoT agents that are trained to do one data protocol like MQTT with JSON data format. But this transformation agent is capable to handle multiple APIs with multiple endpoints and not only one data protocol. So this is one common integration pattern with common standards to be able to integrate multiple APIs with multiple process endpoints into our platform, into our context broker. And if the data is here, we are again talking only NGSI to the consuming applications that are coming from the north. And of course, also have the set of generic enablers that are available, like complex event processing, artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms that obtain the data from the context broker and can inject back the data to the context broker. So this is already available by the FIWARE ecosystem, and we have enriched some more components, but the core thing, because we have to deal with multiple APIs, almost for each provider, a proprietary one, and we have to integrate it into NGSI. So we do this with the semantic web philosophy in our minds. So we do it with the new NGSI LD. It's our new standard. We will switch it to the default one, I think, pretty soon. It's an evolvement of our NGSI version 2 so far. It's considering the linked data principles, and it is an ETSI standard for the European standardization body, and it's the European standard for context information management, and it gets constantly and actively developed further and evolved. But it is, it gets more and more relevant in cities and more domains that we are actively participating in. We have, as a project, also noticed that, of course, no standard is finished, so this is continuously development. So we have also contributed to useful standard extensions. Like, for example, we came to the point that for portals, we have to inject our data that we hold in our context broker or in our mobility platform. And we met city portals, like the GeoPortal in Hamburg. It's an open source version, quite popular in Germany. And there was no connection, so they could obtain the data from the context broker. And then we said, okay, let's add the idea of standard conform GeoJSON representation of entities. So we have raised this discussion, and nowadays this has been integrated into the NGSILD standard, and it is soon or already available for obtaining data not only in NGSI representation but also in GeoJSON to inject it into existing standards for make it more interoperable. This is always one of our core goals, to make data interoperable between systems. Good. So we have created several use cases. We have integrated the Flixbus API, and the Flixbus API itself has 15 endpoints, around 15, that are relevant for integrating the whole booking process. That's what I meant. It's not only integrating MQTT, it's integrating from one provider 15 different endpoints for stations, for routes, for tickets, for coupons, and everything. We have integrated motivation system for incentivizing, for example, changing to ride sharing. They say, okay, today we have high levels of finders, so we encourage you to do something and you get rewards, you get coupons. We have writing application development in our project, and of course, we have heard it this morning from Kiel, the Kiel Region project. This has been added as a third relevant use case to the project only end of last year. We're not fully finished, but it's a real success, and it gets real attention because it has been also chosen in the Gaia X project as one of the feature pilots for the digital, digital room for mobility. I think maybe I lost this acronym. So it gets also presented and shown and developed further in the Gaia X project. So this is very helpful for us. We have some special parking spot data. We have integrated the TripGo API from SketchGo, weather data, routing data. So we have shown that it's possible to, of course, also host mobility data, and we have some lessons learned. So cities often have their own applications, so maybe it's heading to the middle and the smaller size cities. And also what I've heard this morning, that many apps that are publicly available as apps do not at all offer APIs for other systems to integrate them. So we were also facing some problems during our project, but in the end we have created some real great use cases. And on the first day of this 3-day conference, we have also presented it to our project owners. We have created two versions of the marketplace. One is our technical marketplace we have in our generic enablers. There we have data for Aachen and Kiel, two of our use cases these days. But we also have a second version of the marketplace, and for this is more the technical one, because here you can buy access to the data. This is more a communication website that is telling what services are available in general, because the differentiation is here you might be on the city level. On a city level, I have 12 services, but on a Germany level, maybe I have 200. So it is two different use cases, two different communication channels, and they can be connected and they live side by side. We have been extending the use of the Draco Fiber generic enabler, and this is the big orange box circle I've shown you. This is already a fiber generic enabler, but it was only used for the persistence of data, sending notification data to databases for historic data persistence. And we have used it as a powerful data integration framework, because this is an Apache, Apache NiFi is behind it, and this is a powerful data integration tool for multiple use cases. So it has visual coding and debugging facilities, so you can see what you do. You can easily take it for explanations and for finding errors. You can direct error routes where you can, okay, here is the data that is coming in that is not behaving correct. So you can visually work with the data and even can replay data if something went wrong. This is really amazing. You can have 3 different staging areas. You can have a development stage, staging area, and production. So you can have multiple systems for your life cycle of application development side by side. It's all included in the package. You have multi-protocol and multi-connectivity abilities. You have standardized data conversion. For example, changing the format of JSON data packages is not described by your individual code, but there's a domain-specific language for only doing this conversion. You can transport it from one solution to another. And you can even integrate it into Java programs, so it is quite powerful, and it's standardized. It's interoperable. You can carry it from solution A to solution B. You have schema management and validation in the data models, that the data that is coming in fulfilling your requirements for data models. You have scaling, monitoring, and alerting on board. It's already there. It's edge device connectivity integration available. It's very important community development. So if you have a solution today, it's not on GitHub and rests there and stays there as it is, but this is a very active project in the Apache Software Foundation. And so the community development goes on and on and on, and also integrates future steps and future developments and security patches, of course. And the same applies to FIWARE, because this is also a community-driven project. It's version control in public registries. So if when I mentioned that, for example, transport provider only have to integrate one time into our platform, it means that these flow file, or this whole process of processing data can be uploaded to a public or non-public registry, and others can download it. You can have full version management, so it's a fully integrated process, and this is very handy and easy to distribute and also to share with others in the sense of interoperability. Very, very important, and this is something I cannot emphasize enough. You have data flow control. So you have, by default, by design, you have means of load balancing. You have means of prioritization. Like, for example, your API is busy and you have 10,000 data points waiting for processing, but you have a new one coming in, very important. So you have prioritization available. You have back pressure. So you can say, my API is a little slow, so my consuming API is a little bit slow. So you can collect incoming data points for later processing, or you can even rate flattening influx data. So if your data coming in and you say my consuming API is only available for 20 messages per second, you can say, okay, whatever comes in, you can only give out 20 messages per second. And this is already available. This is all available by standard. And so this is very powerful to manage the load and the flow of the data within your system and between your systems. So we have also we are integrating, this is in an ongoing process of mobility standards. We have the TOMP standard. It means transport operator to MaaS and mobility provider. It's transport operator and mobility provider. It's an mobility standard that is going further than from the European Commission. It is contributed also to the MaaS Alliance. So there's many moving targets around. So it is not the ready standard. It's under continuous development. But this is something we also integrate also into the data models that, of course, we follow international standards as good as they are available for increasing interoperability between partners to make data interchangeable between partners, cities, applications, whatever you want. Good. This is coming and promising, but not yet fully implemented. And this is basically my presentation. I have extended some words to maybe come back a bit to the original schedule, and this is now we are only 3 minutes ahead. So what we have done, we have created a system to implement more or less the full spectrum of available possible APIs, or we have created means to implement full spectrum of available APIs to inject the data into the context broker, and from there it is available for via NGS ILD and accessible for cross-domain usage and application development, and should help to bring interoperability to mobility data in conjunction with smart city data to help something in your life, to improving your life, because if you think like you have received a parcel, your way home might change, and this should happen best in real time, and we provide means that help you realizing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have 15 minutes for questions. I will kick off the questions myself. So I'd like to ask Francis and David, which kind of indicators they collect and display in the citizen dashboard. I saw, some visualization, some dashboard that they are developing, and I was wondering, do you collect indicators? What kind of indicators? Well, we cannot hear you, David.
Sorry, you said that how do we collect the indicators?
Which kind of indicators do you collect and you visualize in your dashboards?
Okay, so the thing is that, for example, we have here this is the dashboard, because the idea is the dashboard for the citizen. I don't know if you are asking for the internal dashboard or
for the citizens.
Okay, for the citizen. But for example, here you can see that this is the in real time on the web of mypanel.malaga.eu. Here, the idea is that the citizen can choose, for example, from the different components, the traffic camera. He can or she can select the camera of the city that she wants. So, for example, the idea is, if as I said in the introduction, if I want to prepare my way, I can have in my personal dashboard the traffic cameras that are specific for me or that interesting for me. For example, they can be these two, or I could in the future I could add new cameras component only with the cameras that are interested for me. No. Another thing is with the bicycles. For example, I can put the bicycle stations that are interesting also for me, because, for example, the one that is close to my house and the other one that is close to the destination where I go. And here in this course is what we use with FIWARE. We have the number of free places that has in this station. No, you can see that they change according about the time. So with the idea that we can analyze that how evolves the occupancy in this case of the places of the stations in different time. And also we have colors. You can see the yellow is because it's in the middle of the occupancy. Sorry, but let's try this. There is one in red or in red or in green. Now all of them are in the. So the thing is that we can find now. Let's see. No, well, bad luck. That changing. We can see if there are too many bicycles to take. The citizen will see in green, but if there are not much, they will see in red. And also we have for the parkings is similar. We have the number of free places. For this time is red because it's nearly full, but the color change depending of the number of free places. No. And this about the buses and about the beaches, and here related to the geoportal that can be changed. So this is what the citizen can see. but with the possibility to add another information, for example, like the tweet that is interesting for them, with the idea to have in one place. Do you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because it looks like that the image is freeze. So with the idea that you can have some way to watch whenever you want as a citizen, no? With all the information that is interesting for you. No?
Okay, thank you very much. So regarding other questions, we have a question for Gernot Böge. Mm-hmm. So which product for visual coding and debugging tool you showed during the presentation?
It is a generic enabler Draco. It is available in the FIWARE catalog. And behind it, the Apache NiFi tool. It is a well-known and established data integration tool that is available under Apache 2.0 license under the Apache Software Foundation, Apache NiFi, NiFi, N-I-F-I.
Yeah. Okay, so it's available on the Apache Foundation website.
Exactly, and it's also on Docker Hub, of course, it's available. And we have integrated it and have used it as Draco for data persistence into notifications into databases, and we have used it as it was originally also intended for, not only pushing data out, also integrating data in, and therefore we use it. Yes.
Okay. We have another question. It's regarding the modules, so the orange bubble for versatile IoT sensors. So the audience is asking if they will be available in FIWARE.
Yes, we are just, the project is about to finish now, end of this month. So it's our cleanup activities to bring up the publications. So it will be available, it will be published. It is a template for the whole NiFi data flow, and the data conversion is done by a JOLT, it's J-O-L-T, a JOLT data transformation algorithm description. It will be available, it's not now, but please send me an email and I can provide you the data short term. It's all standard because JOLT is a very popular JSON transformation tool and NiFi itself, and so it's you can kick up your Docker container and then you just upload your templates and you are ready to go.
Okay, perfect. Any other question in the chat? Or I might ask a question myself to Tatiana. So I was wondering if to what extent the pandemic has affected mobility in the metropolitan city of Milan, and what are the challenges in the new normal, and how you are addressing those challenges, and how you are planning mobility in the near future.
Thank you, Francesco, for your question. I think the mobility, the smart mobility is one of the most important themes nowadays in Milan, considering also the pandemic caused by COVID-19, who has totally changed our ways to move and to use the public transport. So it's very important now to consider which are the needs of the people, of the citizens, to move and to reach one place, in order to understand how the sustainability tools can be better addressed and also used by citizens.
Okay. Interesting. And to this extent, are you developing new tools for urban mobility management or for related, topics like environmental status, the checks, the environmental status?
Okay, the mobility sector will be affected by changes, also considering the air quality, for example, in Milan, that is very bad. So considering different elements like the climate change, the air quality, the environment, which have to be taken in consideration in order to promote new challenges in the mobility sector. For example, the Metropolitan City of Milan has adopted the last year, I think in the last days of the last year, in December, has adopted a new document, which is the plan in terms of mobility, which has a new planning, a new reorganization, considering the 10 objectives that I have illustrated before.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question for Gernot. It's quite generic. So what are the main barriers you found and then solved in smart MaaS, smart mobility as a service?
The main barriers, data availability.
To data availability,
data availability was a big issue because we had partners in the system. We had partners in our project proposal that were namely mentioned, and there were some talks to integrate them as associated partner in the project. Like, for example, gaining access to the booking API of the Deutsche Bahn was not possible. We could not do it even with our C-level engagement, so it was not possible. So and also the VDV, it's an important partner for the public transport data in Germany. They don't even have it in their data model that platforms like us, who are not transport providers, are eligible to access the data. So we had them in common meetings, and they were totally friendly, but they said, if you are not a transport provider, we don't allow you in the system. So that's one point. And many startups who want to participate and integrate in such platforms and who like to have it as a marketing and as a customer base and enrichment and enlargement tool, they do not offer APIs. So they are modern in many ways, but they are not ready to share the data. So data as a new goal is really a big obstacle in having this in these ideas. And a real problem we also had, because Flixbus was one of our associated partners. We were just affected by COVID because they just stopped operating. And so it was also an obstacle. So these are just two. But data availability of either by will or by capability is a big obstacle. So sharing of data is not on page of the providers.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Pre-COVID, in the pre-COVID era, I was a very big customer of Flixbus.
But they've just started to operate, I think, 25 is today, 25th of March. Even new restrictions in Germany, they have they have restarted to operate today, I think.
Ah, okay. So let's hope for a bright future.
Yeah.
So we're going to kick off the second part of our session with an expert speech by Sami Sahala, smart mobility expert at Virium-City of Helsinki, who's going to talk about challenges of smart cities mobility in 2021. Sami, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my screen. Yes, good afternoon. I was, well, first of all, explanation for Virium is an in-house innovation agency of City of Helsinki. So we are non-profit, not work in the market. So we basically are taking care of lots of the smart city activities and European projects on behalf of the city. I was asked to explain a little bit about the mobility challenges of cities in this day and age. Highlight a little bit from Helsinki side, and basically you can see Helsinki here, and then you can see some of the challenges already. Here we go. So city center is right in the middle of the picture, and you can see that it's basically end of the line. It's really a star-shaped system with islands and not good access from anywhere. So that's one mobility challenge already, a bit traditional one. Another one is that these highlighted areas are all former port and rail yard areas that are now being developed at the same time. Right around the city center, we will have 150,000 new residents and can't remember how many new workplaces and so forth. Nice, we are getting much better city center, but again, you can imagine that if everyone is counting on their personal cars for mobility, that's going to be a challenge. And one more challenge that you can see from this picture is that Helsinki is in fact the busiest passenger port in Europe, and that means that there's almost in peak season there's like 60,000 people transporting between Helsinki and Tallinn in Estonia, which is only a 2-hour ferry ride, plus the overnight ferries to Stockholm in Sweden. And that means that of those, actually from now on only 2 places where these big ferries dock, plus all the cruising ferries in the summertime, they are our major source of congestion actually in those peak moments of the day. Well, that's from the traditional side. Some of the other on more generic level, this is basically what all cities are facing. These are the main challenges that every city has. I've been using this kind of 3 C's: the sustainability issues, the congestion, and the third, that you need to make the options, the alternatives for your personal car convenient and comfortable in order to make them attractive. And this is not going away. And this is basically, you can draw most of the city's mobility challenges into these 3 C's. But a bit more view on this. We get asked quite a lot that what's going to change, especially when, well, you just saw the presentation on regarding mobility service, which we've been quite active on for quite many years. So what's going to change? Well, no one knows. I think the thing that is certain is that change is here to stay, and it's becoming more and more rapid all the time. And that's something that was highlighted especially with COVID last spring. Things changed really, really quickly. So especially people are really quick to change their behavior.
Excuse me to interrupting you. Are you continue to share the screen because we see only the first slide? I don't know if it's my issue or for all of you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's been a few slides.
Okay, thank you. Okay, understood. Okay, not possible to be on the first. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let me know. But anyway, the COVID, what it brought, also the realization that cities are not quick to react to change. They've never been so, and now that the change is becoming more and more quick, they are in more and more trouble. So that means that we are desperately needing a new kind of resilience. Cities used to talk about resilience a few years ago, but it was more about like weather issues and other kind of more infrastructure related things that were required, whereas mobility wasn't part of that discussion as much, but now it should be. Part of the challenge of adjusting to this fast-paced change is that first of all, the processes that we are used to, we have had for decades, they are quite slow. So, for example, traffic planners. The traffic planning is a process where you look at statistics over the last years or decades, and then plan and basically try to also, with your plans, you try to dictate what kind of change will there be. And now we see that doesn't work. People are not following that anymore. They are quick to so to speak, vote with their feet. Another thing is policy making, just as slow. Problem is that both these processes, that they can't see the future because no one can, and that means that they are they have really hard time adjusting themselves to change. We saw many cities building a huge amount of bicycle lanes in quick manner, and that was a huge feat for many cities. But that's something that we need to learn from, how to do that again and again in the future. All right, going to the next slide. Not sure if you've seen this or not now, but the question is that this is the traditional mobility perspective. But then again, knowing the audience, you are more into the digital side of things. So what does this mean for digital aspects? These were the slides I was showing, the map with the highlighted areas.
Very well.
The 3 Cs. So you got the picture. Not much that you were using there. All right, let's go to the digital side of things. What are the digital challenges? But maybe too many to mention here, but what I want to highlight here is, in short, I want you to have the more like process perspective. We have, as the cities, we have challenges in just having the data in the first place. It's not that we couldn't just buy sensors and install them and operate them, but is that how we should do it? What is the investment in doing that? Because we might need a huge amount of sensors in the future. What kind of cooperation should we have? Should we outsource some of it? Should it be by procurement? Should it be aim for a situation where we can just buy data from the market, the data that we need? These are the questions that every city is thinking of at the moment. Then the next part of the process that we are managing the data. So we get the data. Where do we collect it? Where do we put it? Where do we store it? Well, that's probably maybe one of the easiest parts. We have a number of platforms available. We can do that. But again, is that for us? Should someone else do it for us? Do we need that kind of competence in-house and so forth? Again, the same goes for refining the data. It's fun to have data as raw data, but then you should make some sense of it. Again, how do we build that competence in-house using the tools? What kind of cooperation should we have with third parties on the market? These kind of questions. So it's more like, how should we operate the whole? It's not technical as such. Again, then we need to share that data. We need to publish it. The data that we have decided to own. That's another question. And I think the main point is that somebody needs to make something out of that data, being useful. It's nice to have data, but something that makes sense, something that is tangible and has potential for further development, that needs to come out in the end for us cities internally as well as third parties. Some of the technical issues is that cities have used to dealing with more static data. Helsinki is one of the most famous cities for open data, but I call them dusty archives quite often. That's most of the data actually where it comes from. The demand for real-time data is there. It's not that city themselves don't need real-time data, for example, planning functions, but third parties need it. All new mobility services are more and more relying on real-time data, and maybe we as cities should have some kind of role in providing that data. Another thing is lack of standards. I'm not talking about technical standards as such, how to build data storage and all that. I'm talking more about mobility related standards, especially now with the new change that we have more and more new types of vehicles. The mobility environment is changing. The services are developing themselves, and we enter areas where that hasn't been there before, so we don't have standards for that. Example is just micromobility. What kind of standard should we have in discussing or exchanging information between micromobility providers and the city? That's something that's been going on for a few years now in the US as in Europe, with a little bit different type of approach there. Governance issues. Some may argue that GDPR shouldn't be there, but I claim that actually it is a challenge as well, in a sense that there's so much confusion, uncertainty that what you can do and what you cannot do, and especially cities, public sector in general are quite often really careful not to cross any lines, not to do anything wrong. So quite often we end up having a bottleneck of not being able to do something that we thought that it would be easy enough case, but then we have somebody coming up and say that, well, you can't do that because of GDPR. And could be that we can't, it could be that we can. Again, nobody does know. The instructions are not clear enough. That may vary between cities, that may vary between countries, but there's work to do there. I kind of mentioned the ownership issues. Should we own the data or not? Should we own it as city departments? Should we come up with a separate entity, even a kind of data company? That's something that we've been discussing in Finland lately. And the procurement models, I really want to do something with that, in a sense that how can we spend public money in a way that further drives the innovation, not just take the cheapest form of data available and just keep it that. We need some innovation here on the public sector side as well. But I think the main point that for innovation in public sector is that we really need to have a mindset that we need to start thinking that who's our customer? We should have a customer as well. Is it the citizens, the residents? Is it something? Is it the city's own functions? Sometimes it is. But again, in one of the previous slides, there was a triangle of traffic, there was users, there was the economy, so basically new business. So big part of the mindset is that cities need to be able to understand that our customers, in related to mobility data at least, are the guys here on the right. They are the ones taking the data that we can provide and coming up with further, quite often more innovative services that what we could do as a city ourselves. And at the same time, they create new business, new jobs. That's what our mayor likes. And that's what we need to think more, not just from the traffic perspective or mobility perspective, like have a bigger picture. That's what I meant with that. Okay, so I've listed quite a number of different challenges and there's a lot of change going on. Basically, I've been just complaining. Any ideas how to go on? Any solutions? The answer is no. Nobody really has, but a couple of small ideas on that. One thing one point to raise here is that quite often the city organizations are isolated. The different units and divisions, they don't really talk to each other too much. There's not enough dialogue. But if you are a mayor in the mayor's office, you would really like to have all the experts in your organization in different units and parts of the organization to cooperate in order to have the best possible solution for your city. And that's something we need to drive. So quite often when we have a question or a task about mobility data, it is the mobility people, the traffic planning department or similar that owns that problem, and quite often they do it on their own, even though similar issues are being already managed in other fields of the organization. So kind of cross-sector cooperation within the organization is something that we need as cities, and that would help us see the bigger picture as well. Another point to raise is that there's new technology coming up all the time. That's really, really interesting. And I really want to highlight these three, not the only ones that Helsinki is exploring, but I think these are some of the favorites that we have. And the usage of AI, my data, or digital twins, we are not building them for mobility sake at all. It's for city planning quite often, citizen participation, providing the city's digital services and so forth. But our job at the moment is that since we are building those, we are developing our competence and coming up with new tools on, for example, these 3 areas. How can we use them in mobility context? What is, for example, what is digital twin for logistics, for example? What should be there in order to get best benefits out of these new tools? Or vice versa. What could, for example, logistics provide back to digital twin in order to make it better for themselves, as well as maybe help some of the other user areas? And it's that there's so much to do with new technology, and really it's at the moment it's about just trying to get your head that what should you do next, and what kind of roadmap you want with all this. And well, yeah, if you're not aware what my data is, it's about time you look it up seriously. And yes, maybe the last point is the open everything, more or less. Cities are opening up quite a lot. Quite often we are sharing much information. There's open policies. There's dialogue between city and our stakeholders. There's lots of transparency, but still we need to think that what is next? What is the next generation version of an open policies that we have, and what is that in mobility? And that's something that we are looking at. It could be different things. Think of, for mobility context, think of crowdsourcing information, for example. It could be much more dynamic policies. It could be much more dynamic approach, basically what I was complaining here earlier. And then maybe the final point there, and not to forget, is that, again, new mindset when it comes to data, and when it comes to mobility data. Just we need to ask the question from ourselves that do we always need to first buy something and own it, and then we can use it and share it? That's the traditional model, but could we somehow influence that the data that we need is available in the market, and we could also think that somebody else can use it, that the company who's selling it to us could sell it to some others as well. The new mindset in public sector just doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen after a couple of workshops or even a new city strategy. It takes time, but we know that we can take steps, sometimes baby steps, but we can take different steps forward. It takes time, but I think we are on the right track here.
Thank you very much, Sami, for your interesting insights, and which open a lot of questions. Pass now to the second speaker, who is Henrik Stoner, a business development manager of Better Mobility Limited, who is going to talk about mobility as a system, layered view of mobility as a service. Henrik, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I will start. So, hello and welcome to my talk. I would like to share the insight that mobility as a service goes far beyond the technological view of things, that beyond the interconnectedness of different mobility providers, there's a whole system that is involved in MaaS. So, let's see. Here we go. A brief introduction first. My name is Henrik Stoner, and I work at Better Mobility as a business development manager. And Better Mobility is based in Aachen, Germany, and builds platform solutions for mobility as a service. And we're involved in the Smart MaaS project, where FIWARE was also a major participant. And through our participation in this project, we gained a lot of insights, also through this marketplace approach that led up to our idea of mobility as a system. So if we look at the current status quo and where the current challenges lay in MaaS, we see and we notice that there's a strong technological focus. You have all the different building blocks of mobility as a service, and they need to be interconnected, but this is only the technological point of view. The building blocks such as scheduling, routing, ticketing, booking and payment, and what have you. They need to, first of all, they need to get online, they need to be digitized. But if you have several transport providers or mobility providers, you also have quite a lot of these building blocks. And if you want to maximize convenience for customers and users, of course, you look for a platform to interconnect all these building blocks and to eliminate redundancies and to streamline processes. And this helps in the user in the end, but it is only a piece of the puzzle and the technological view. So with the evolution of mobility as a service over the last years, not only micro-mobility gained traction, but also the idea to connect different mobility providers. And of course, this is still a tough problem. You have basically a jungle out there of different APIs, and there are strong efforts of standardization, and this is the way to go. But there are also a lot of proprietary systems, and they are sometimes not so keen to share information to external partners. But once the basic technical issues are done, you wonder what comes next. And what we think what comes next is, it's a bit laggy, sorry. What we think comes next is that there are two approaches that you see. One is a data-driven approach that expands the MaaS thinking, and the other one, which is also already happening, is the user-centric thinking of topics in mobility as a service. And this is where it starts to get interesting, to be a bit more precise and give some examples. The data-driven approach is where dynamism can be introduced and to help to drive behavioral change through external triggers. And you create value because you can incentivize, or you can get external data into a MaaS platform and help to guide users in their behavior. In addition to this, on the bottom, you have user-centric thinking, and this is the natural evolution if you did your homework and if you connected the technicalities in a correct way. And through this, you are able to offer improved products and services to your customers, or you might be even able to create new business models out of the mobility as a service approach. But in addition to this, in green or petrol, you see the mobility as a service tiles. You also have the market aspect of mobility as a service. And this has quite a different goal. Of course, the three tiles in yellow that you see here, they all need to be trust providing. Of course, policies and politics are not the only thing that have an impact on the MaaS market, but they need to guarantee an operational safety to live your MaaS projects and not to be facing red tape in any kind. The other tile are market externalities, such as gas prices, relevant parking situations, and government incentives that need to be taken into account that will strongly influence your MaaS endeavors. And we chose to also put environmental concerns as an extra tile because it's a very strong and also an emotional thing that users of mobility as a service, of course, they want to be sure that there is availability and reliability, but they also want to be sure that they are doing the right thing, that they choose maybe this form of modality or intermodal journey to lower their CO2 footprint. And this also has a trust signal in this system of mobility as a service. On the right-hand side, and I think some earlier speakers, of course, mentioned it, mobility as a service is a puzzle piece of a smart city. So you want to think of mobility as a service as one connector that can unlock a whole lot of new possibilities. And this starts on a technical level, the SSO and SSI approach. This is single sign-on or self-sovereign identity, so that you can access maybe other relevant and mobile adjacent services that are relevant to a city or a municipality. And the smart city approach also can create feedback loops for your MaaS endeavors through Internet of Things, so especially sensors and data gatherers. And last but not least, this all leads to also the connection to non-mobility businesses, and they are also an essential part of this systemic view of MaaS, because mobility is often a basis for new businesses. Think of the tourism industry. If they can be integrated or at least connected to the MaaS approach, this could unlock a great new value for tourists, obviously, but also maybe for citizens and for a city itself. So we think that you need to step back and see mobility as a service as a whole, as a system, and have a comprehensive view. And we believe that this will continue to gather momentum, and it has been a great leap since the last 5 years, how MaaS has evolved, and it will not stop. So let's wrap up this systemic view, and to keep it short and simple, mobility as a service is far more than the pure technical integration and streamlining of mobility providers and travel options. The user-centric view unlocks a higher adoption rate, because you basically lower the threshold for people to use your offers, and this may also be true for new businesses. And at last, mobility as a service is starting to evolve out of this technology realm, and it grows into a smart city. And of course, if you create this network, this system for mobility, a network, you profits from more and more people that engage in it. And especially if you take it into the MaaS context, you see that network profits from more and more mobility providers. And the easier it is for providers to join this network, talking about openness and also ease of implementation, which implicates some sort of standardization. Yeah, this is really a point where FIWARE has a great touch point to establish these networks to help them grow. So yeah, that's everything. If you would like to discuss this idea or MaaS in general with me, I would be very happy to. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak here.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm sure there will be some questions after all the presentations are done. So we move to the third presenter, Massimo Villari. Massimo is academic consultant in smart cities for the City Council of Messina in Sicily, Italy. And he's going to talk about smart mobility, FIWARE outcomes in URBANITE for data processing at the edge. The floor is yours, Massimo.
Thank you, Francesco, for the introduction. Can you see my screen with the cover page?
Yes.
Okay, very well. Let me start my clock, just to be on time. Repeat, it's a pleasure to be here, present what we are doing in URBANITE project. Is an European project fully focused on smart mobility. Just a few lines. I'm full professor of computer science in Messina and ICT delegate. The link between university and the city, the municipality of Messina, try to push them to adopt a smart initiative. Francesco, you see the second picture, am I right? Can I go ahead? So, URBANITE project overview. Let's start from it. It's a project that was started in April last year. What are the objectives of URBANITE that allow us to have a long-term sustainable ecosystem? Because we are trying to see mobility in full sense in all the direction, essentially. Try to take into account how we can help the municipality itself, how to help citizens, and how to try to understand, to use disruptive technology, AI, how to help them. And how we try to push this disruptive technology. Repeat, the public sector is not ready. We know it because technology is something that, like a tsunami, is not easy to adopt. And we need to help them in some situation, and even for mobility. This is what we're looking in URBANITE, in the different sector, but especially in smart mobility. And repeat, all the time you're talking about the data, like oil is true. We are in the era where data is really important for us. This is the future in terms of data-driven decision makers support. As I said before, try to make some transformation. This was looking on URBANITE in terms of objective result, and with the algorithm and simulation, trying to provide a system that the decision maker, the policy maker in the city, in the Metropolitan, can understand what is helpful for it and for citizens, for the city itself. And then we want to create an ecosystem with dashboard, ICT artifact, just to fulfill the overall requirement. For city in the loop, there is Bilbao, Amsterdam, Helsinki. I attended a previous presentation, and even Messina, what you are talking about now. Repeat, just to have a full understanding how we can make sustainable cities. Now we are in the area of COVID-19, and we try to slightly modify it a little bit because we have to come up with this new issue. Even here now today, to be honest, it's much more better to meet all of you in person instead to stay in front of a screen that feel alone. Am I alone, Francesco? You're still there? What is the situation? Repeat, because you. Okay, thank you. You need it because when you talk remotely, you can understand if you're there or not, and it's quite that we don't update at all. We have many issues to solve. First of all, to access data or main data source, even when we don't know whether are not well documented. We need API, RESTful, but also we need some algorithm that try to extrapolate added value from this data. And repeat, put in place sustainable models, a social aspect. We are putting in place a SOPOL app to have the engagement of citizens in this idea. It's the consortium as a whole, just to have an idea. There is the leader is technical, but there is also engineering, and also the other partner, as I said, Helsinki, Amsterdam, Bilbao, and us, and some other companies, Frankfurt, and so on and so forth. Armadigital is the company that I'm leading, a spin-off, because it's a new trend of a spin-off, academic spin-off to push, let's say, technology on the market. This is something very important for us. It is what we are working on in this company, and we are really happy to do this. And then the municipality of Messina provide us the pilot. Messina is there. You see the Sicily Island. There's a top corner close to the peninsula. There is the small strait, the small channel. By the way, repeat. What we're trying to help them is in the area of mobility department, even some other departments, to understand how to provide the added value in what they're doing. URBANITE vision. I just mentioned a little bit, just to have some needs data and stuff, engaging the citizen, and also with the implementation of the stuff technology, as you can see in the slides. Big data, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, algorithm, something that we know very well, guys. I think it's something new. Maybe SOPOL Lab for social engagement, data management platform, a lot of problem with the GDPR stuff, where to deploy data, and so on and so forth. Decision support, because you have the data, but then you have to make a decision, and some documentation and pathways with some simulation and useful for policymaker. Repeat, something that we already presented before. Now we go to understand how FIWARE is useful for Messina municipality, what we are doing. I repeat, the objective is to propose a different aspect of FIWARE that we really like it. And now I wanted to remark something we are doing quite new. I want to share with the community in terms of NGSI LED. So we think something can be interesting, and we put here in the attention. Of course, FIWARE knows already the needs about this technology. So what I'm presenting now is something on the edge. You see the title, Smart City, Smart Mobility Edge. We're talking about something that allows you to characterize your sensor. We are looking to the future. We're a university, we are a spin-off, we are this strong link with the city. We try to propose something really new in this perspective. Guarantee the GDPR, because we're talking about on the edge processing, you're talking about something that data continue to stay there, continue to stay inside the municipality, continue to stay in your domain, essentially. I will present to you some use cases that help us to go toward the concept edge. Why do we need edge? So municipality has many needs. One can be an example of network, water network digitalization. They need to know how to put smart meters, how much consumption. You think it's a little bit different for smart mobility, but it's the same domain at the end of the day, because you have to assimilate the networking of water, like networking of road, streets. All the solutions you can provide can be really useful for this context. Because we have trusted IoT or IT position. In the case of Comune di Messina, the municipality is named Hamam. It's let's say the third-party entity that work on water, and we are using algorithm. We are using some characterization in EPANET that will make distribution nodes very well. It's just to give you some impression. Big data visualization is something that is really important for us. We put it on Google for understanding how it behaves and how to access it. What is interesting, we put some algorithm really important, and we put it on FIWARE. This is the well-known infrastructure of FIWARE, because they need to play with all the elements, and we strongly believe it's quite useful. You see, even in blockchain, because we go to extend it to understand what is useful. We use something for security, is well-known in FIWARE, but we try also to extend with blockchain, with trusted IoT, and so on and so forth. With some technology, you can see here, we have integrated in FIWARE. This is the home page. And then we went through the open data. They need to have open data, of course, and is why we want to say thank you to engineering that allow us to use FIWARE Hydra, that in some way give you the chance to share data. Because we are collecting a lot of data, and now we have to share them in some way. We are using this artifact, something that really the municipality of Messina really appreciated, and they are also happy. To be honest, I'm trying to propose also in on the opposite of the strait, in Reggio Calabria, because they have a common stack to use open data can be really useful. You can get data in federated API, you fill the repository, and then you show. This is what is happening nowadays in Messina. Some data already open, and some capability we took from some source, we put in one scenario. Okay, just to understand what is the position of FIWARE and Messina, but we want to raise the point in URBANITE. Something's happened during the idea, unfortunately, issue, the terroristic attack in Vienna. I thought, why don't they have the capability to see the cameras around the city? Because if you remember, after 2 hours of the shots, there was some way to understand where the terrorists try to find them. You find them by the cameras, because you are putting a camera in city. Think is something that can be really useful, not only for safety, but even for traffic. And this is what we are looking for. There is some geometric aspect that they want to put in your attention, that the idea is to make some queries. So the idea is you can query camera, can see you in one dimension, in one slot easily, without to looking on the cameras. It's a repeat example of terroristic attack on the picture on top on left. So we are looking for having some virtual device, because cameras are there, sensing are there. We want to wear them, we want to change their behavior. This is why we are thinking to adopt NGSI LED and to extend it. It's something, repeat, quite new. The camera, like it works, is there. I can make some video, some streaming. We are okay for that, but we can give some extra value. This is the essential idea, providing extra value for this camera. So we already have now a characterization in NGSI LED. We like it. temperature, humidity. We have also linked data. This is why it's the LD in the context, trying to link each other. And what is the idea? Okay, let's have a data model open fast, like functions as a service on the edge. That is why we need link an NXI LED. Why don't extend it? Why we are looking for function. So when I have some function on fly that you need it, you click it, and you have it, and then you destroy it after some time. Repeat, this is quite the future, because we already have this characteristic, and we use them, parking group, parking spot, and so on and so forth. And this is how it works. With the edge unit and the sensor, as you can see, they're physical device, as we know them, and we want to wear them with extra facility. Extra facility on high. Of course, the facility should be strongly linked to the constraints. That means you cannot ask for a 28 data frame from a camera if you provide 25. But if you're asking only for 5 frames, it's possible to do it. So I consider that bound in terms of the constraints of physical device. You go underneath about this. You can have average value. You can extrapolate some data. You can have AI on the edge. Yes, you can have AI on the edge. It's an example where we're using a lot the hardware structure, and the next step will be to have machine learning on the edge with TensorFlow and some artifacts with small devices. But we need to wear them. This is essentially what we are looking for. Physical device, it can have many services. This is on the right side of the picture. You see some extension we are proposing. This is a matter of paper we are presenting in Melbourne in a few months. It's quite a novel work. Repeat is strongly linked with video surveillance, and the idea is to modify NGS LED even from this perspective using solid angle, where you can perform searching on fly. You need this data, you need this position, you need this picture. You can take it soon when you ask it for. Repeat, this is some example of NSA LED with the characterization of a virtual device with the streaming 5 frame, 10 frame, 25 frames, and so on and so forth. You can have some other analysis like have a solid angle. Solid angle is important because it can give you a view. Can you see in front of the camera a door? Can you see in front of the camera a face? You need to know it a priori before to ask the system. This is the new concept of a solid angle we are introducing. And we are going to modify everything. It's our prototype. There's no strategy because you have to modify Orion or context broker to match this concept of northbound traffic to deploy what you need, because the camera is there. Let's say the edge device is ready for you. You have to wear it in some way. The same situation to transmit what you required before, northbound communication to provisioning, and in some way southbound for provision configuration, and northbound for your data. Now we go for mobility case. So I spent more time in these slides, but because we have many facilities with data, we want to modify them. This is the public transportation in Messina. This is an example of another session we're doing for Messina to rent bicycles, and we track them with the GPS. We know where people are in the last 6 months. I know they are aware of this because they participate in this action from Minister of Environment. There are some track on the map with some data. What is essentially the idea? I'll give you an example in track where people go by the city to jump to another part of the street. It's a nightmare in summer because a lot of traffic. There are many cameras. And the idea is it possible to put conventional camera where we make an analysis on mobility on the edge? This is essentially the idea. We put concretely the idea of a virtual device, and we create another system with LD and virtual device, and the real camera that allow you to have a traffic in one case. In another case, we have a common Raspberry ARC camera. What does it mean that? That we deploy what we need, we use it for some time, and then we destroy it. Here you see some possible graph, because I repeat, the presentation is technical, and repeat, I'm going to conclude. I know that my time elapsed. By the way, you see that the difference is not too much, and we can have the possibility to replace the conventional camera. Traffic camera is at the middle, specifically for that times, but we can use different cameras for many parts, for looking for aggregation of people, for looking for safety situation, for looking for cars. We think it can work. These are some other examples that show us the big difference in this graph. Okay, thank you for listening. of course, if there is any question, I'm here. I'm going to stop the sharing. Francesco, I hope I stayed on time.
Yeah. 2 minutes in advance, actually. So great.
Okay, thank you
very much, Massimo. So now we move to the last presentation for the session. It's by Evangelos Mitsakis, founder of Intertraffic, who's going to talk about the dynamic traffic management for connected and automated mobility systems. Evangelos or Evangelos, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting us to be here. My name is Evangelos Mitsakis, so correctly pronounced. I'm a senior researcher at the Hellenic Institute of Transport, but today I'm here with my role as one of the founders and the CEO of Deep Traffic, a spin-off company of our research center, which aims to commercially exploit some technologies we developed and which I will present today concerning dynamic traffic management. So this is our team. So besides me, there are also another 7 colleagues of mine that work with me in this endeavor. As you may see from our expertise, we mostly have an engineering background, and most of us work either in intelligent transportation systems technologies, connected vehicles, or data and computer science. What's our motivation? Well, we have been working for several years now, and mostly within the framework of European research projects in the domains of intelligent transportation systems, but most lately in the domains of connected and automated mobility. And the acronym that I mentioned here, CATS, refers to Cooperative Intelligent Transportation Systems, which are those connected vehicle technologies practically that everybody's mentioning today. So what's our motivation? These connected vehicle technologies are mostly used until today as advanced driver assistance systems. So as technologies that aim to assist the driver in the actual driving task without any links to traffic management. These technologies have been progressing for several years now, so nowadays they're quite mature. And also there are a lot of actual operational deployments of CATS technologies at city level or at highway environments. Some are said operational, some others are still pilot deployments throughout Europe. But there is overall an increasing rate of such deployments of connected vehicle technologies. And of course, perhaps the highest motivation behind our effort is the fact that these technologies are an integral component of all the autonomous and automated vehicle and mobility systems that you may be hearing in the last years. So our objective is to exploit CATS technologies for traffic management. And what we want to achieve is to extend the capabilities that are within today's traffic management centers by incorporating such connected vehicle technologies and to create actually tools out of these technologies for traffic management centers in order to better coordinate and optimize traffic conditions in urban or highway environments. To do that, our objective is also directly to engage the driver. Nowadays, the automated or autonomous vehicles are not that many, so practically we need to engage the driver by informing him based on the traffic management plans and on the traffic management strategies and to influence his behavior in a way that serves the global optimum, let's say. We also want to provide to traffic management centers the ability to assess the performance of those services in real time. This is extremely important at real-time operational level. So we want to have a very easy to use solution that follows the traffic management as a service paradigm. Of course, this has an underlying objective to try to assist cities or highways SMATs in solving the well-known mobility-related challenges, and I mean those of efficiency, environmental issues, and of course road safety as well. So based on that, and based on several years of research related or research-focused activities of our group in those domains, we developed a platform that provides dynamic traffic management as a service. So this is the core product that Deep Traffic is commercially exploiting. The product itself, it exploits existing and future connected and automated vehicles technologies, and I mentioned that in order to highlight the fact that it is compatible with all the current industrial profiles and message standards for connected vehicles. It exploits multiple data sources, so the product is able to connect to any third-party data source, and including data sources that are FIWARE related, of course. The product itself, it is also completely agnostic to any existing technologies used by traffic management centers concerning traffic management. Of course, we are compatible with all the relevant technological standards in the domain, but it really does not play any role for us what type of or what's the commercial traffic management product that may already exist in a city or a highway environment. And also, as I said before, we also have direct delivery of guidance and provision of information to drivers and multimodal travelers. Coming perhaps to the more technical parts, our product has three main components: the scenario manager, a dashboard, and a CATS message broker. The core part is, of course, the scenario manager. It's that part of our platform that manages all incoming data sets in the form of key performance indicators, which are used as thresholds and as target values for the traffic management strategies that need to be implemented. That means practically the scenario manager is monitoring in real time all traffic related data sets that are feeding our platform, and based on certain values it selects, it activates and deactivates traffic management plans and traffic management strategies that are of course associated with the provision of CATS services. And it does that in a fully automated way. There is no human intervention needed in our product. Then, of course, there is also a visualization component, the dashboard, which is there to assist the traffic managers in better understanding the overall traffic status, also the performance of the strategies that are actually being implemented through our platform, and in various well-known and commonly used formats lately, in maps, in diagrams, and further other visual appealing parts. And last, our platform comes also with a CATS message broker. That's another component that practically broadcasts standardized CATS messages that are activated based on the active scenarios through the scenario manager component, And those are broadcasted actually through the MQTT protocol to all connected vehicles where the messages are received and translate into a service for the driver. The product is practically ready. We have been working on that for several years, and we're as we speak today in quite a good TRL level. We already have an operational deployment in a city, in the city of Thessaloniki in Greece. So our platform used operationally for traffic management. It is fully integrated with the existing systems that the city had. We also have pilot deployments in the two main highways in Greece. But we are also very much interested in exploiting the opportunities, of course, in other countries in Europe and further than that. Regarding the components or the architecture behind those components, as I said, there are three main parts: the scenario manager, the dashboard, and the CATS message broker. We have APIs that connect us with external data sources in real time, of course. And then the core part, which is the scenario manager and the key performance indicator based on the used data sets. These are currently handled by a Kafka deployment. The visualization is done through Kibana, and the front end for the user is based on Elastic technologies. And of course, everything is Dockerized for well-known practical benefits of this technology. Concerning innovation of what I just presented to you, we believe we are innovative in three directions: in a technology-related direction, in an operational direction, and in a business-related direction. Concerning technologies, the innovation is that, to the best of our knowledge, there is no other solution in the market that exploits connected vehicles technologies in such a way for actual operational traffic management. At operational level, we see our innovation in the sense of the use of multiple data sources, including the data that is created by the users of our system as well. So we are practically an intermediary decision support tool which bridges the gap between conventional traffic management and today's traffic information service providers. And at business level, I think the main part that our innovation is related to is that of the traffic management as a service business model or paradigm that we follow. Now, I would like also to mention a few words about FIWARE and the relation to our platform. We have only recently, a month or so ago, we conducted FIWARE in order to see how we could exploit FIWARE technologies. And I would like to thank the FIWARE colleagues a lot for assisting us in doing so. And we are now planning for two main developments or integrations of FIWARE technologies in our platform. The first one concerns the scenario management component of ours, where we have started exploring the possibilities and the benefits out of using the Orion Context Broker in the place where actually we currently use Apache Kafka. And we have also started looking at the harmonized data models of FIWARE, because it is a main objective of ours to be able to connect with smart city platforms, and we have come to a conclusion that FIWARE is used a lot in those platforms. So we would like to be compatible according to the FIWARE defined data models, at least for primarily for the transportation domain, because this is our focus. And second, we are also exploring what is needed, perhaps less than the first example, in order to utilize Grafana instead of Kibana for the visualization layer of our platform. Concerning the FIWARE community, for sure we will join the FIWARE ecosystem, and we discussed there are opportunities for doing so as a startup, because we were only established practically 2 months ago as a commercial company, and join the FIWARE ecosystem and see also our contributions on FIWARE's marketplace. And by that, I hope I'm on time. I would like to conclude, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Evangelos. You are perfectly on time. So now we have 5 minutes for questions and answers. So we have a first question, from the audience. So a question that reads that according to the person that asked the question, so the smart city concept is supposed to be dead, as there is a new concept which is emerging, that is intelligent city. So basically data exchanges between machines. In this way, clearly humans can deal with seconds of delays, but machines do not. So we are going towards a world in which hyperconnectivity and the Internet of Things will have machines talk instead of humans dealing with machines. In that regard, how does FIWARE address this? So who would like to answer? Probably maybe Cristina or somebody else from FIWARE.
Maybe I can take on here, Gernot here. I've already written it to Tonya in the chat that in our catalog of FIWARE components, we have also the chapter of interface with robots and third-party systems. And there we have generic enablers like OpenMTSC, and this is machine-to-machine communication, fast DDS, and micro XRC DDS. This is ROS2 and ROS communication, so communication between robots. And we have the IoT agent, for example, for OPC UA. This is also a framework for machine-to-machine communication. So we have this layer of machine-to-machine communication. Often this is faster and more low latency. So we just have a bridging layer for master context information. So we cannot take microsecond data, but we can take status information, and we have the bridges available in the chapter I've just mentioned in the catalog.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question from the audience. It reads that the field of mobility as a service seems only limited to engineering and, let's say, information technology, but should be open also to other fields. So all five should open the doors also to economists, psychologists, marketers, because there is basically an influence on the human behavior led by technology, and the other way around.
Francesco, if I can say something on this perspective,
yes, please,
it is also funny that yesterday we looked into the template for Horizon Europe, and I don't know if you ever looked to it. They changed it. There is no ambition anymore, 1.4 in the proposal template, and there is multidisciplinarity. There is they asked us to go in this direction. I am totally aligned with the comment, because the future is not only for let's say ICT people, because I know this is the case. We have to open to others, and even the European Commission is asking us to do it. And I fully agree that at the end of the day, we onboard the others, but we continue to be the driver. Let me say that.
Yes, very interesting, and I link to this topic. You know, also connecting myself to the presentation by Sami, in which you know, there is need for a more user centricity, for a more let's say co-creation of services with citizens, and obviously Scandinavia is one of the places where co-creation started, like living labs and similar service design and similar tools. So do you have any comment regarding that, Sami? How does Helsinki move towards co-creating policies and services with citizens?
Step by step. I might actually start with answering the question over that MaaS is only limited to engineering, but that really depends on what forum are you following. It's quite often it is like that. It's same with the smart cities as well. They used to be the cities that had the most data or most sensors or something, whereas again, reflecting you just said, they should be judged by, for example, what is the impact of the smart city or what is the impact of us, and then also what this question continues that human behavior will change radically and so forth. Again, it's kind of a chicken and egg question as well. That will the behavior change first, and then we will address that, or vice versa. And at least with the mobility service concept, we kind of saw the small signals and then introduced a concept, which then the idea is that it drives the changing of the human behavior to a direction that we would like as a city to do. So it's a little bit about your perspective, how to see things. Now, when it comes to Helsinki, how to address, or how to come up with policies like that, for example. The traditional way, yes, we will have again a new city strategy every 4 years. After we will have local elections this spring, and let's see what we can put in there. But at the same time, before that, we have been doing lots of piloting, testing, co-creating, and things, different projects, including FIWARE related projects, and we kind of have been building it from the ground up, and then when also the city decision makers see that, hey, this seems to work, then it becomes official policy. So there's two ways of addressing that.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that now it's time to leave the floor to Ulrich, Ahle, and Cristina Brandtstetter for the from FIWARE Foundation for the closing and outlook remarks.
And first of all, hello from my side. And we saw really a lot of great solutions and saw how digital solutions can help us in improving the mobility of people, of smart mobility as a service solutions. But what we also saw is that there are still a lot of silos. Solutions, and we are headquartered as FIWARE Foundation in Berlin, looking at around 30 different applications travelers could use within the city, but there's not a real integrated approach. And I think it became visible that standardization will be a clear to make this this harmonization and breaking down of this mobility silos reality. So for me, it was an impressive day. It was an impressive session of days, because we are at the end of a 3 days conference, which started with an internal conference of the Smart Mobility as a Service project, which is coming to the end of this month. Then yesterday, an international conference on smart mobility, and today another one with more focus on smart cities. So thank you for this impressive line of speakers we had during the 3 days and also today. Thank you very much to our moderators, Davor and Francesco, who did a great job keeping us completely in time, which is really a success, but also keeping the people on board, attracting the people to stay with us. And we will also have a continuation. You saw at the beginning of this day the presentation of the digital twin of a mobility station in the city of Kiel in Germany, which has been accepted now to become a use case on the so-called mobility data space, which will be the first implementation, at least in Germany, based on Gaia X, something you might have heard of, a new initiative in Europe to create a federated cloud infrastructure based on European values. And as I said, the first implementation will be a mobility data space, which will be ready for the ITS World Congress in autumn of this year in Hamburg in Germany. With this, I would like to close, or I would not like to close without thanking our marketing team, the leadership of Cristina, for the fantastic job you all did in preparing this event, bringing this line of speakers together, keeping us on board during the day, and managing our platform. And I think the platform, the AirMeet platform using here, has been proven to be a very good choice. So thank you very much. And I see a lot of applause and thank you hands from the audience. Thank you to the marketing team of FIWARE. And with this, handing over, Cristina, to you for the last words and maybe a heads up what's about to come. Thank you.
Yes, many thanks. Many thanks to all the marketing team also from my side, and to those who managed, surely with some sweat on the forehead, to launch a new event platform. And I think we can clap the hands here that all went super well. I'll do a short summary of what we heard today, because I think we span the really wide field, from starting from organizations that try to work on interfacing and integration standards up to concrete use cases. And then we heard cities in this journey that try to implement fully new ideas, or those who have been already implementing great new projects and innovative technology, all the issues and challenges they're facing. And I would say I would do a quick run through top arguments and top messages that we heard today, as I just put some notes down of, I think, what we can say, quotes that are really quite interesting. So allow me to do that for a minute or two, and then I will give you an outlook, what's coming next. And if we meanwhile get Ulrich into basically on stage, then of course I will straight away remove myself and give the stage to the CEO. Okay. So let's have a quick look at what we heard from Kiel this morning, which was about talking about projects that they're handling and the role of a digital twin. And one of the key things that I took away is that Kiel is really a very open city that tries out new technologies, because they want to become green, more sustainable. And for this, they really go new ways. One of these new ways was actually even a part of the Smart MaaS project for mobile charging systems. And I think one of the successes out of that is already seeable today, because it has become, within the Gaia X portfolio of use cases, already an additional official, accepted or recognized use case for data spaces in mobility. So I think that's a great recognition already for such a young project. We then jumped from Kiel to Turin, and Turin made a very great statement about what it means to redesign transportation. And they said it's not just an opportunity, it's simply a must. Interesting, I thought, was also to hear from Akrivi, from MaaS for EU platform project, that she was basically saying models need to be liquid, because even when you have a great project designed ahead of you, everything can change. And I think she laid that out very strongly by saying, there's new technologies coming in. Suddenly there's new offers, new services, as their electrical bicycles. Then you have spin-offs. You have even things that come in like COVID, fully unplanned, and you always have to be agile and think what's next. So a priori solutions do not work. But she also said what doesn't work maybe in one region can work very well in another one. So we need to really be open to different ways of approaching the challenges. One of the great, let's say, hands-on, not only technologies, but really solutions in terms of vehicles we saw with the CityBot of EDAC. And EDAC, for those who don't know them, it's a well-known pioneer and innovation driver in the mobility sector. And they have a concept for an intelligent alternative and individual transportation. And I can only recommend go and see the video because it's really amazing. It can not only transport individuals, but it's also there for doing trash gathering from road, for example, or working in factories fully autonomously. It's really quite fancy. Also, we have we looked at FIWARE, another great use case. A single integrated view on smart cities. And they showed impressively how you can integrate many different data to actually allow citizens and users in general, it's also a city, to get on one single platform. Yeah. We had also some insights from FIWARE themselves. So we had Stefano, our CEO, showing a few things from FIWARE. He came with a great message because he said FIWARE is not there to support opening up silos, not only to opening them up and building a bridge. It's really important to say it's about bridging silos and not breaking the silos. And this can happen with near-time data, not necessarily all the time real-time data. And he showed how this can work. And yeah, this could be directly transferred into what we saw done from Malaga, because they showed us a chatbot they've installed. And by the way, they have done many more things, okay? We just saw one example to show what smart mobility for citizens and tourists can really mean. And we're all sure also the tourist sector will come back, and Malaga is a great destination. So once you go there next time and get this app. We also looked into Milan. Milan is also one of the forerunners for a great mobility system. They're investing heavily into the city, and myself even has a bike share card for €35 a year. You can have a bike from all the stations in the city and even in the suburbs, and to go on a bicycle trip, and they bring you close to taxi stations and trains and bus and metro and tram. So it's very well organized, and they're improving more and more. Also, it was also laid out that they're not state of the art yet, but they want to become. City of Helsinki, also super interesting. I took away, don't let mobility people try to solve digital problems themselves. See the bigger picture as well. Super great statement. I'm sure lots of other cities would agree to this, that this is a common and collaborative work. And with Henrik Stöner from Better Mobility, we saw a great insight into what micromobility means, and another, let's say, wider check what comes from the Smart MaaS project, as we learned also a lot in yesterday's day of the mobility conference. And then with a jump to Messina, outcomes of the URBANITE project, how this was implemented in different cities like Messina or Bilbao themselves. Moving then on to a great transport solution again, with a statement that also I liked, and it was about commercial companies. So if you want to be successful in the market, you need to be compatible, and how the National Hellenic Institute of Transport did that, we just learned with Evangelos a few minutes ago. So I couldn't mention all of our speakers today because we had really lots of them, and they were all fantastic. This is why I can only say get this registration on demand as well, to see and listen again all the great news our speakers had. What surely the feeling was throughout the whole presentations is that all of them are rethinking mobility, and there is a very high need to find better, new and better concepts. And we knew that, we have been doing that for a long time, but I think the COVID pandemic really showed us that it's most urgent than ever to really have mobility systems, even now that people are maybe reusing cars a bit more to be on the safe side. Yeah, said that, we have more to come. Within this conference, we obviously showed a wide field, a wide span from day one as an internal closing conference for the Smart MaaS project up to today, where we had a deep insight into cities, applications and use cases. And we didn't want to leave that project and these 3 days conference with something really great in hand. And I know that my colleague Val has shared a couple of times today already a white paper that just came out 2 days ago within this within this conference, which I think is really a great read. You need to be a deep diver to learn great new technology steps and use cases out of that white paper. It's a let's say half an hour read to get everything you need to know about mobility, what's going on, and these voices who contributed to this. If you didn't save the link, just go on the FIWARE website. You find it straight away on the first page. Okay. Then let's have a look what's coming up from other countries and cities. You know that we publish every 2 weeks another fantastic use case. These use cases are impact stories, we call them like that, FIWARE impact stories, and they show how our domain staff use FIWARE, and that is not only smart cities, that spans from the cities and mobility to energy, industry, agri-food, tourism, health, climate. You can get all of that on that website with really on use cases and implementations that are off the shelf, scrapable if you are interested in. And we show these success stories in events. And there is 2 more coming up very, very shortly. So if you check your agenda, and we will see that also on the next page, by the way, then you can write down and block your agenda for one event. That's the AI Marketplace. We launched within the project of AI Marketplace, or Marktplatz in German, a fantastic new platform that is about the use and share of artificial intelligence for product development. This is the left side. You can register for free. It's tomorrow afternoon, CET time, and it's the first time this project will be shown publicly with its first results, and to show a real marketplace going on AI. Surely exciting moment. And with FIWARE and the token project, there's another event to come, 22nd of April, for ledger technologies. Don't miss that one. There's also great news what's happening in that world. And now I need to I get quiz help again to go back to a few more events that we wanted to let you know. We mentioned IoT Congress, World Congress in Hamburg, but there is more events where you can find FIWARE in autumn or fall. And just a few to say, we will for sure be at Smart City World Echo again in Barcelona. Smart Country Convention in Berlin, going from the right to the left. As we said, ITS World Congress in Hamburg, and IoT Solutions World Congress for the industry part, and a few more. We sincerely hope that COVID will allow us to be present there. If not, we will surely be online as well as we did today. All right. So said that, again, I want to thank our media partners for supporting us so gratefully. You will find more content online on their sites from Cities Forum, Compass List, Smart Cities World, TechEU, and Zoom Global Cities. So thanks to all, thanks to Francesco who guided us through this afternoon, and see you all soon to the next events with FIWARE. Stay safe and have a good rest of the day. Goodbye.